Top Democrats on Capitol Hill insist a deal is imminent on the president's massive social spending plan, but there's indications an agreement might still be out of reach. Democrats hoped a deal would be done before the end of the week, but disagreements keep popping up. And we've learned that paid family leave is now likely on the chopping block. CBS News senior White House political correspondent Ed O'Keefe reports from the White House.
Tonight, hopes are fading for an agreement on President Biden's sweeping social spending plan before he leaves tomorrow for Europe.
Is getting a deal by tomorrow still realistic?
Yes. We'll see.
But on Capitol Hill, demands from two key moderates, West Virginia's Joe Manchin and Arizona's Kyrsten Sinema, are slowing momentum towards an agreement. A major provision to extend paid leave to working Americans is now likely out of the bill because of Manchin's concerns with the size of the proposal. This, despite intense lobbying from his colleagues.
Oh, if paid leave's not in the bill, it would be devastating. It'd be devastating for working women.
The moderate Democrat also raised questions about a proposed billionaire tax, which would help pay for the plan.
I don't like the connotation that we're targeting different people.
The tax would target the assets of the nation's roughly 700 billionaires, like stocks that increase in value and the sale of any real estate or business interests. It was proposed specifically to appease Sinema, who spiked an earlier idea of a corporate tax hike, leaving Democrats now scrambling to sort out how to pay for President Biden's plan. The back and forth has infuriated Senator Bernie Sanders, who sees progressive priorities being watered down or scrapped to please just two senators.
Should we raise corporate tax rates, personal income tax rates for the very wealthy? Of course we should, but at least one person in the caucus doesn't want to do that. Should we demand that the billionaires pay their fair share of taxes? Yes. There's another person who doesn't want to do that.
Ed O'Keefe joins me from the White House now with more. Ed, always good to see you. So West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin continues to take issue with major parts of this bill, as you detail. What more can you tell us about his objections to paid family leave and the plans to pay for the legislation with a so-called billionaire's tax?
Yeah, everything revolves around Joe Manchin, not Joe Biden, it seems right now, as Joe Biden's agenda remains stalled. The West Virginia senator tonight is picking a bit of a fight with his female colleagues, especially in the Senate. Democrats trying to convince him to agree to some kind of a paid leave plan, whether that is just paid leave for working families who have newborns, whether it's some kind of paid sick leave plan. All of that remains unclear. Throughout the day, there was word that it was in, it was out, it's got to be truncated. There was a bit of a confrontation tonight on the Senate floor where Senators Patty Murray of Washington, Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, pigeonholed him and said, you've got to take a look at this. He walked out and apparently told reporters it's such a big deal that it probably should be done separately. But that speaks to his concerns about the cost and how all of this gets paid for. The billionaire's tax was proposed by some of his colleagues as a way to deal with this. It would basically tax the 700 wealthiest Americans by taxing their assets as they exist once the tax takes place or begins in 2022, and then tax them every year thereafter on any gains they get from stocks that increase in value or if they sell any real estate or business interests. Basically eliminates their capital gains in some respect. But Manchin and other Democrats, we should point out, especially members of the Ways and Means Committee over in the House that writes tax policy, are concerned that this might actually be illegal for targeting such a specific group of Americans or would be very difficult to implement. But part of the reason why the House members are a little raw about this, I think, in part is because usually it's the Ways and Means Committee that would get to write this kind of legislation, not the Senate, so it's a turf issue. But either way, all of this has to start in the Senate. You got to get all 50 of them on board in the Democratic caucus, and right now they're still not on board.
Yeah, we definitely saw that in your package. It was fascinating to see Senator Gillibrand's response. That she was floored to hear that news. But let's also talk about Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema, because she took issue with the original plan to pay for the social spending bill. And as you report, she was on board with the billionaire's tax as a method to pay for it. Given all that's transpired now in Washington, where does she stand on that issue and any other methods being considered to actually fund this bill?
There's a corporate tax on like a 15% rate on corporate earnings. That would help pay for part of this plan. She's on board with that one. under the idea that, big corporations shouldn't be paying zero. They should be paying something towards paying for all of this. Believed to also be on board with the billionaires tax, but she hasn't necessarily expressed that. And so much more of where she may be opposed or for something remains pretty opaque, because the only place she seems to share her thoughts with is here at the White House, not her 49 other colleagues. But throughout the day, leadership on the Hill, White House aides here seem to say, we're pretty close. We've just got these last few items. Remember, last night we were talking about the fact that this legislation is going to include more than $500 billion to fight climate change. That's a huge chunk of change and a big accomplishment for Democrats if they can get it passed. There will be other things in here, like authorizing about $450 billion in spending over the next 10 years on universal pre-kindergarten classes across the country, something that only certain parts of the country enjoy now would be extended to 3- and 4-year-olds across the country over the next 10 years. So there will be big changes in social policy, expensive ones, and it's what else could be put in or kept out to keep the price down that is what is ultimately causing this painstaking, protracted negotiation between just a handful of senators. This president, more than many others, because of his time in the Senate, appreciates that when you're in a chamber where any senator can throw up their hand and say, stop, I oppose this, that he's got to get all 50 on board. And he won't be able to get his legislation passed until they are.
So let me ask you about that, Ed, because Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders also met with President Biden at the White House. We heard in your report how upset he is with his colleagues. Can you tell us more, not only about the role that he's playing in these negotiations, but I'm wondering, is there a chance that he might try and flex his voting power if he doesn't get what he wants in this legislation?
He could, and there will be a big block of House Democrats that take their cues from him on how they should support this, if at all. Sanders expressing his displeasure with the fact that two of his colleagues who feel differently about most things from him is merely him venting, but it is also reality that if Democrats want to get something passed in a chamber that's divided 50-50, you got to find something that everybody can agree to. And the tone out of this White House has been something is better than nothing, because everything we're doing is something more than what's been done in terms of most of these issues that are going to be enacted, whether it's, again, expanding pre-universal kindergarten or pre-kindergarten, whether it's enacting billions of dollars in federal climate change protections, whether it's dealing with affordable housing concerns in this country. None of that, they would argue, has been done to this scale before, so doing anything is still bigger and more ambitious and historic than doing nothing at all. And it will still stand as one of the most ambitious pieces of domestic legislation ever passed by Congress, but we still got to use the term if, because there's still no guarantee this is going to happen, and it certainly doesn't appear to be happening by the end of this week.
And let's switch focus over to the other chamber. Over in the House, Speaker Nancy Pelosi is calling for a Thursday committee hearing on the Build Back Better Act. Is this a sign that lawmakers are closing in on a deal?
I think she's trying to get the train moving, yes, on a vote to approve the bipartisan infrastructure bill, to put the pieces together to eventually hold a vote on this legislation that would deal with all the other issues. Remember that federal highway funding expires on Sunday night while the kids are out trick-or-treating. She had vowed that the legislation, the hard infrastructure portion of this plan, the one that passed so easily in the Senate over the summer, would be passed by Halloween, because the deal for the other one would be done and the House would vote. But she's running into this issue where a big block of progressives in her caucus are saying, we're not voting on that hard infrastructure bill until the legislation dealing with everything else is written and the process of passing it is underway. They continue to insist, about at least 40, 45 of them, probably more, that they will withhold support for that infrastructure bill until that other thing is written. Folks, this is very procedural. It speaks to the deep-rooted ideological disagreements among Democrats, an increasingly progressive and younger caucus in the House that feels that if they can't get as much as what they want out of this, it may be their last opportunity for a while. And so they've got to be seen as having won this ideological fight with a completely different group of people over in the Senate that reflect a different Democratic Party reality, and that is that there's a collection of moderates, not just Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, but you got to add people like Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, Angus King of Maine, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, and others, even the senators from Georgia, who are going to take issue with certain elements of this, and that's why the cost of this had to be brought down, the ambition had to be scaled back, because you can't pass this massive thing and go home and sell it in some states, even though you can sell it in some congressional districts across the country. That's just the reality of American politics right now. And it's frustrating to so many of these senators.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what a good point, Ed, that as much as this is procedural and maybe frustrating to watch the sausage being made, that there are these ideological differences that are happening, not just over in Washington, but across our country. Ed, thank you.